going to talk about some comic books today. Now, the first one that I want to talk about is Thor God of Thunder Volume 4, The Last Days of Midgard. I finished this one a while ago. I already took it back to the library, so I don't actually have it with me because I could have sworn that I had actually already done a video describing it. I believe my camera ate it, so I apologize for that. But this is the fourth volume in the Thor God of Thunder series. I've really been enjoying this series, really interesting storylines, great artwork. So in this series, we're following three timelines, essentially three different Thors. The young Thor, before he can lift the hammer, before he's considered worthy. The present day Thor, that we're all familiar with. And future Thor as the All-Father after Odin has died. So when he's really, really old. So at some point in the story, these three timelines all intersected. They all met up. This was during Thor the God Butcher, and that has passed, and they've all been returned to their proper timelines by Volume 4. But the story itself is still watching these three timelines, and occasionally the events they're dealing with coincide in storylines. And so The Last Days of Midgard deals with the older Thor protecting Midgard, which is basically a barren and dead world now, but he can't let it go. And also, the present-day Thor is battling a ecological nightmare corporation called Roxxon. I had a little trouble with this one in the beginning because it felt very ecological. It was very eco-friendly, eco-warrior kind of thing, and it kind of shoved it down your throat, and I was like, okay, enough of this already. And then it turns out that the guy who's heading the corporation is actually like an evil mutation of some kind, and so yeah, that cleared up pretty fast. I'm okay with that now. What I really, really loved about this comic is that I am now actually intrigued to read the Goddess of Thunder comics, the Lady Thor comics. Because they announced that they were going to basically debunk Thor as the God of Thunder and put in a woman in his place, a Goddess of Thunder, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Nothing against the fact that they want to make a Goddess of Thunder, it's the fact that they want to discredit Thor and make him not worthy for some reason, okay? So I was having an issue with that. At the end of this volume, Thor's granddaughters, Thor wants them to read through histories and to gain more knowledge, and so they come across this book. It's on the very, very top of a bookcase, and it's all wrapped up in chains. And it's talking about the Goddess of Thunder. They're looking at it, and there's pictures, and it's a woman, but she's lifting their grandfather's hammer. So the reason that I am now intrigued is because, yes, they took Thor from that position. But obviously he goes back to it because he's the God of Thunder again when he's the All-Father. So this is why I'm suddenly very intrigued to read the Goddess of Thunder comics. Knowing that it's just going to be like a temporary thing, no matter how long it is, it's going to be temporary. Much more intrigued to read that now. Next up, we get into DC Comics with Nightwing. Volume 1, Traps and Trapezes. This is fun. This is Dick Grayson after he becomes Nightwing, and the circus that he grew up with comes back into town, so he decides to go and see them for the first time in years. I think it's the first time since his parents died and Bruce Wayne adopted him. And so this is interesting because it turns out that there's something dark and mysterious going on. And also, somebody takes out a hit on Dick Grayson. So this entire volume is him trying to figure out this mystery with the circus. And so he decides to join up with the circus for a little while, and so he's traveling around with them. They do a couple of stories during this. Just while he's traveling with the circus, there's one involving the circus clown. Turns out he's got something in his past. And just those stories themselves, they felt sudden, kind of possibly underdeveloped. I felt like they were just kind of thrown in there, sort of like fillers. I didn't love them. The only one I think I really liked was the one where Batgirl came in, because you know that there's history with Batgirl and Nightwing, and obviously I have not read a whole lot of DC Comics. Basically what I know is from the movies and any animated television shows that I've seen. So kind of trying to tread water here, but I did feel that some of the stories in here were just there to pass the time. I didn't love that, so I'm only gonna give this one like 3 stars. Much darker, I think, than the Marvel comics that I read. Or not darker necessarily, but grittier, which is a nice change. Gotham Academy, Volume 1. This is another DC comic, and I absolutely adored this. This is so much fun. Okay, so this is about a group of kids who go to the Gotham Academy, which is a private school in Gotham, oddly enough. Bruce Wayne went to this school at some point, so he of course is like a contributor, and he comes and he'll do speeches and he gives them money and yada yada yada, so he's got an in with the dean, right? This girl, something happened to her over the summer, and evidently she does not quite remember what happened. The only thing she knows is that it involved her mother and it involved Batman. She kinda hates Batman. if that picture doesn't tell you enough right there. She kind of hates Batman. She's kind of a little afraid of him too. I like this because this feels very much like a Batman story, but Batman is actually only a minor character. This is about Olive Silverlock and why, for whatever reason, she hates Batman. There is mystery, there are ghosts, there are secret passages. It has something to do with Gotham's dark and sordid history that we're not quite sure about yet. There's some secret about her mother, whatever happened last summer that changed her. So much stuff going on, so much fun, so exciting. It's a really, really quick read. It's fun. One of the things that intrigues me the most is that this isn't like a school for superheroes. And I don't know, I love to see the storylines about the kids who don't actually have powers in a world where half the people have powers. This one gets 5 stars. So that's Gotham Academy Volume 1. Definitely pick it up if you like your comics. Okay, now we're gonna get into the Doctor Who comics. These are by BBC and Titan Comics. What I really, really love about these Doctor Who comics is what a fantastic job they have done in representing the characters. Each Doctor, 10, 11, and 12, are all very much 10, 11, and 12. They act in character. Everything they do and say is totally believable for their separate characters. I like that they take place in between the storylines that we know, so they are literally new adventures. They're adventures we've never seen before. They also involve companions that we've never seen before, so we get new companions for the Doctor. This is Volume 1 of the New Adventures with the 10th Doctor. It's Revolutions of Terror. He picks up a young Hispanic woman in New York, and their first adventure involves the Day of the Dead and some kind of freaky, not quite ghosts, but they can like siphon off your emotions and make you feel like total fear. It was really, really fun. So this one gets 5 stars. This one is Afterlife. It is the first volume of the New Adventures with the 11th Doctor. This one is also fun. Eleven's new companion is a middle-aged woman who is dealing with just a change of everything in her life. Her mother has just died, she's being evicted from her apartment, she just lost her job, so she's going through like this really, really depressing time. And she just runs into the Doctor. And the Doctor realizes, yeah, she could use a friend right now. So I like that. It's a refreshing change in a companion. She reminds me kind of Donna Noble, not totally, but she does have some of Donna's spunk. This is kind of a vacation for her. She's not considering this a phase in her life. This is just a vacation for her, and I kind of like that. It's a refreshing change. She doesn't want to go gallivanting off across the entire universe with the Doctor for like the rest of her life. She just wants a vacation. She wants to go find something that will make her happy, and then she will go back to her life and she will deal with it. Reformer. This is the first volume of the New Adventures with the 12th Doctor. I've been having a hard time with the 12th Doctor. I really want to love the 12th Doctor. I love Peter Capaldi as an actor. I literally have only seen him in one other thing, but he was Cardinal Richelieu in the BBC television series The Musketeers. He was in the first season and won't be coming back anytime soon because he became the Doctor, but he was fantastic as Cardinal Richelieu. I want to love him so much as the Doctor. Had a really hard issue with him in Series 8 just because he's not as nice. I mean, I like the fact that he's kind of grumpy, but I get the feeling that he doesn't care about a lot of things, and I think I'm beginning to see that differently, or at least see a change in that. But in this one, I felt like I was getting to know the Doctor better as the new version of the Doctor. I feel like I'm getting to know him better the more I watch of it, so I will probably go back and rewatch Series 8 and be like, oh, he totally cares, he just doesn't communicate that as well anymore. Anyway, I did have some disappointments with this one. This one only gets 3 stars. The second storyline is the one that I think took up the rest of the book. There's, I think, 2 storylines. The first one is a short adventure, and then the second one is a much longer adventure. And I was really enjoying it in the beginning because it all centers around India in the past, the way past, and then way futuristic India. And I liked it because it was talking about mythology, and it was Indian culture, and it turns out that, you know, some of the Indian gods were actually aliens, and so it brings all of that in, and I'm really interested by Indian culture. I watch Bollywood films, so I'm really interested in that. It kind of got ruined for me because they did introduce several homosexual characters, and for me, because that does go against my morals, it ruined the storyline for me, and it was not as good and it was not as fun. And yes, I do have that problem with the television show as well. And so that was the big reason that I did not enjoy the story as much and why it doesn't rate as high. Like I said, it's only 3 stars and the other 2 got 5. It still represents the Doctor very well, I think. It still has very Doctor Who-ish storylines, but I did not enjoy it as much. Last but not least, we have from Marvel, Ant-Man. Second Chance Man. Okay, so I just saw the movie and I loved it, and it was a fantastic movie, and it was awesome, and it was one of my new favorites, so I had of course to go and get the comic books. This is a really fun comic. I love Scott Lang as a character. He's funny and sarcastic and is just trying to get his life together and just really doesn't succeed. Now compared to the movie, he seriously doesn't succeed at getting his life together. And after a while, those kinds of storylines can grate me. I mean, I like storylines about characters that have issues or problems that they need to work out and involve character development. I love those types of characters. Sometimes in the form of comic books and television shows, it can get really old really fast because it starts to feel like they're dealing with the same problems over and over and over again. I get anxious. I get anxiety when characters try and try and try so hard to get what they want, and then they just they can't get there. They fail and they can't get there, and that makes me sad. So I loved this comic. I love Scott Lang. I'm really loving Ant-Man. But I do foresee this problem for me in the future with this series. So just as a warning. But this is really good. I give this one 5 stars, and I super loved the way that they did the storytelling. Scott Lang does the narrations, and he's just so snarky, and I love it, and it's awesome. On the whole, some fairly great comic books in here, so if you're looking for something new, maybe give one of these a try. Alright, I will see you next time.